Yes, yes. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the review of our first seed fixture of the season. The match on the 8th of February at Redlands. What is it? Amcal Stadium Grange versus Redlands. We didn't know a lot about this team coming into the fixture. We knew that they had played FQAL1 last year. It's my opinion. You can see evidence of that in the way they play. They were generally quite solid on the ball, moved it well, although I wouldn't mind betting that they probably had some key outs throughout the season. One thing I wanted to start on in this, I mean, we'll have a quick look through. Before we went in and we had a look at our match preparation. So this is what we're talking about in our preparation. We were talking about competing physically. I've highlighted that as green. I thought we competed physically very well. Playing through, I've made that yellow because I think we've still got some work to do. We're really still starting to establish combinations up front, figuring out what runs to make, what our style of play is going to be. I do feel that we've found and exploited space well. Still room for improvement, but well. Now, in possession, I thought that once again, we look to use passing to play through. It's important to remember that compared to our last fixture against Pine Hills, this was a much better opponent. But we still have some work to do on finding the passes through. We're still getting passes cut out by defenders. We're perhaps rushing the pass rather than playing back and then playing through. Finding space, once again, I thought we did that well. And I think that we were guilty of rushing passes where we didn't need to. I would like us to become a team that's more comfortable on the ball, less hurried, because I think if we're less hurried and we're in a better frame of mind, we will produce better passes and produce better football. Finally, out of possession, I thought we maintained our shape and communicated well for most of the game, but I thought our first 5 minutes was really something we needed to look at. And we're going to drill into what was happening there at the very start of the video review. Because honestly, we could have very easily been 2-0 down. And in a fixture like that against a team like that, it's going to be quite problematic coming back from a couple of goals down. I thought that we forced their ball to the flanks quite well when we pressed. They didn't really constructively play through us. They lumped it up, and we were quite strong in the middle of the pitch. Indeed, one of their most potent attacking weapons, especially at the start of the first half, was to just basically hit long balls, which we made more difficult on ourselves than what we could have. Because once again, we had a few critical problems at the back, which we'll look to resolve. Force the error and engage the press. We've got some work to do on our press, but that's again a function of having a very much new front five. We've got a lot of boys who haven't played with each other and are figuring out where things are. And as far as dictate, deny, delay, defend, I thought our defensive effort was quite strong, if we're being completely honest. We'll look at the statistics of the game. A lot of real positives out of this, I thought, boys. Statistically, we had 51% of the possession, which is pretty even in reality. But what was more important, I felt, was what we actually did with the ball. We created 15 shots compared to 5 from Redlands. Now, I think it's fairly safe to say that I felt that Redlands' shots were significantly more threatening. And look, honestly, I think there was some really inept finishing on their behalf that prevented them from scoring. On the other half, we just weren't quite there. We either didn't pull the trigger, didn't quite get enough. The ball just didn't fall to feet. It was quite frustrating to watch, and I imagine it must have been quite frustrating from on the pitch as well. We created 11 corners to their 3. And we completed, and this is the statistic that really impresses me. We completed 214 passes to their 152. I think a lot of that's representative there. They went direct very quickly. They had a couple of big bodies that I think they appear to look for, especially up front. But I mean, we'll see more on that when we actually get to the video. And in terms of our shot map, we created 60% of our shots in the box and 40% from outside. Although I have to say, I do sometimes wonder whether or not those statistics discriminate between crosses and shots accurately, because it didn't feel from the sideline as though 60%, 40% of our shots were from outside the box. I feel as though we can probably count on one hand the amount of shots that we took from outside the box. Anyway, in terms of the past locations, I will defer to the video to bring that up in the statistics in terms of past locations. So that's where it gives us this table right here. So you can see 89% in the middle third, 3% in ours, and 7% in theirs. So we definitely controlled the game, especially the second half. I think they had one, maybe two chances in the second half, but we really did control that game. And it was my opinion, at least, that the chances they did get in the second half were very much against the run of play. In terms of possession, once again, this is probably going to be a little bit small, but you can see the possession across the full recording, 34% in our defensive third, which is not surprising. And I think that's always going to be a little bit skewed because we are striving to be a team that plays the ball out through the feet rather than just lumps it up. 36% in the middle. 30% in the attacking third is actually, it's actually pretty impressive, if I'm being completely honest. If we compare that to look at the first period, we spent more time in our own defensive third, 35% in the middle and 22% in the attacking. I think that statistic is a reflection very much of the long ball approach that they took to that first half. If we then go to the second period, where we well and truly shut down their long ball, we spent the greatest proportion of our time in the attacking third. So I feel that we're unlucky not to have taken something away from that game, specifically taken away a win, because we certainly created the opportunities. We just need to come together and get there, get those combinations, create those shots. But it's coming together well. First game of the season, and I suspect that Redlands will be strong this season. And it may well be that when we look back on this result later in the season, it appears to be quite a good draw, especially given that it's away. It's the first game of the season. If we look at passing strings next, our longest pass string was 8 passes, which doesn't sound all that impressive, but it is actually quite impressive to complete 8 passes 2 feet in a game that was quite strongly contested, especially in the middle of the pitch. I think they were a physically bigger side than us. I don't think they were technically better, and I don't think they were as well organised, and I don't feel that they play for each other as well as what we do. And then if we have a look at the heat map, there's something I wanted to talk about in the heat map. If we go all the way down to the bottom, which is where the heat map is. Now, this is the heat map from the first period. So this would be Grange, our defensive area, running that way. So in the first period, we definitely had more time spent leaning towards their attacking third. And then if we go to the second period, where we're running the other way, we can see that trend is actually more intensely represented. Although we do show a propensity to go through the right-hand side a bit more than the left. In any case, that's what we've taken away from all of the statistics. Make sure that backdrop's there. On the whole, I thought statistically the numbers reflect our performance, and I think they reflect on it quite positively, if I'm being completely honest. In terms of the video review, like I said, I have divvied it up. I really want to look at the first few minutes, the first 4 minutes specifically. So, whoopsies, I don't need that. So, here we go. So we get the pass, goes back, and not much doing, a little bit of hands there. Now we've kind of over-swamped that guy. We've ended up with Max and what looks like Ollie, both over-committing. So we've got 3 guys defending this guy. That creates the opportunity. We formed up formed up relatively well. I mean, Zach's a fraction out of position. We've got Major, we've got Zach. I think Luke's over here, slightly obscured. My suspicion is, based on watching them for the whole game, they're going to look for this pass. But the issue here is we've just got a little bit over enthusiastic. We've got 3 players who swamped this guy and he's managed to get the ball away. That's a problem. So let's play it through. Now, you can see number 2, okay, he's dropping in. Zach's not in a bad position. This guy's definitely offside. Zach's not in a bad position. He's got this guy. Now we're running backward. He's got the chance to drive. Zach's in a good position. He's goal side. He's watching. Ball comes over. Mick comes out to clear it. This is probably the first warning sign, because we pretty much figured out what they were going to be about from here. So now we get a little bit of broken play, breaks down a bit. You can see they were really congesting the midfield. This is something that they did for a lot of the game. We eventually broke it down, but you got 3 boys all in this. It was something they did a lot, especially on goal kicks. This big, tall, black-haired guy dropped into the pocket, this area here, to try to win it and get back into it. So they'd obviously decided that was something they wanted to do. Riley there. Riley's just overran the Borna fraction. Now we have an issue here. And it is difficult, but the right back, which is Zach, has lost his man. They have runners coming through, but the issue we have here is this guy is presenting a real problem. Okay, this guy, he's probably fractionally offside, but we need the right back's position to be goal side, because that way we can get between him and the goals, preferably between him and the ball. So that's just a little bit tricky if you're too attacking minded and you get caught on a transition. This is why transitions are so dangerous. I like Mick's position. We can see Mick, he's positioned on the 18-yard line. He's probably going to have to start to drop, because a lofted shot could pose him a problem there. We'll let it roll. So Major's position's good. Zach and Luke have been taken out of play, going to have to recover. Zach's not recovering, so number 2 is wide open. Ball rolls over. Mick was committed to the ball, so now he has to slide. What I don't like is the right back's now given up chasing. He's just ball watching now. That's a real problem. Major's trying to recover. Zach and Luke are trying to recover. And what saves us here is a good save. Okay, so it's a good save by Mick, but it was probably a fairly insipid shot. Okay, so we break out nicely. Now, in this case, I think what's happening here, I'll mention again now, Zach, you're probably just a little bit too eager in terms of getting out. It makes sense because you didn't recover to do your defensive work. Just a little less enthusiastic to drive forward, because if we do turn over the ball, you're still out of position. Because if Will happens to lose the ball here, then they've got a 3-on-1 and they can drive through and effect a score. So we're very overcommitted at the front and then turned it over there. So I will just let it roll through rather than have to make it spam up. Nathan brings the ball down. It's pretty scrappy in there at times. Yeah, so they've moved it around. Unfortunately, the audio, all you can hear is the people over on the under-14s fixture. Now they've done what we try to do. They've switched it around to go to the other side. They've done it quite quickly. So we're looking pretty good here. Happy with this. We'll mark them. We've got the 3, the 4. My preference would be, so we've got a reasonable line. My preference would be for Major to be getting over to assist Zach, because if Major can move over to take the 10, then Zach can start to move more towards the ball, because Luke's got his player there. So everything's looking quite good now. Now Luke stops, and gives his man the opportunity to run through. I'm not sure what happened there, but we need to be probably more interested in the run of your opponent than stopping to cut out the ball. Doesn't make the ball, and it goes through, and they're through. Now we've got a problem. So they created quite a few opportunities. So by stepping up out of the line, not getting the ball, Luke at left back has created a headache for us. If we look at the map, we can see Mick is exactly where he should be. He's on the 8-yard line. So this is the drive. The issue we have now is we've got 2 runs. He's probably going to head towards the far post. He's probably going to head towards the penalty spot or near post. He's probably going to drive down and look to execute a pass. But let's see how it unfolds. So they've outstripped us for pace. This guy, geez, he must be getting very, very close to offside. Once again, there you go. Zach's recovered. Now this is where that's just a really insipid shot. So that's 2 let-offs that we had. Just come from relatively small outcome errors at left and right back. So that's something that we need to look more closely at in terms of getting our shape. So this was the first, 2-3 minutes of the game. And at this point, because, if they score there, that could have a really powerful impact. We were, I think, a tiny bit rattled, if you like. And I do think that in the age group that we're in, hearing that a team was a Div 1 team last year has a significant psychological impact. But what I do want to do is I just did want to zoom forward to one section as a positive. So they were really tight, really honest, could have got away from us at the very start, but they did not. But then I want to zoom forward to this bit. Okay, so it goes here. Okay, offside. Definitely says 71-32. All right, that wasn't in the plan. What I was looking for, I wonder if it's in here. Gosh, I hope not. Here we go. Okay, so this is what I wanted to. I've just written down the wrong number, boys. Apologies. So their goalkeeper puts it down. Now their centre backs are back. This is how they normally play it out. And he's a strong personality, this guy. He's a bit like a Oompa Loompa on a power trip. Marches everybody up. Now, this was in response to the fact that they could not clear the ball from their own half. Okay, we dominated that second half. So the solution was to just give up playing through and just try to lump it up into the middle of the pitch. You can see Nathan remonstrating because he's really well won. That's great. I think that's Riley puts his noggin through that. But this was what they're then trying to do. So what they've basically done is they've tried to take it back and change the terms of the game. So what they're looking for is they're looking for a ball in the middle of the pitch, okay? And then what they're trying to do is, so they're looking to lob it up to this spot. And then I think Francis is in here somewhere. So they're looking to lob it up and then get a second ball, okay, because we're all up on halfway. Mick's where he should be on the 18-yard line. So we're just a little our own side of halfway. That's our offside line. So what they're trying to do is lob it into this mixer, hope that one of their bigger boys can get a noggin on it and head it this way somewhere. And then from that, they can then create a through ball to attack. So essentially, it's a variation. It's a variation of the long ball football that they'd started the game with, and it's a result of them being unable to find success playing through it. So that's exactly what's happened there. So they're just trying to give it to this guy, and then he's just going to lump it over the top of us and see if they can get the break and score from there. There we go. That was unsuccessful. So I suppose what I needed to point out is we need to be on it from the very start, okay? And then we need to stay on it from there. A couple of bits that I now want to talk about relate to our press. So 26:30. I think I need to go a bit back from that. Okay, so there we are. All right. So the first job that the striker has in this situation is you just need to make them decide. And you know that, Nathan, you've done a pretty good job of it most of the time. You just need to make the keeper decide that he's going to pass one way or the other. And then if he passes this way, if he passes that way, your run is then a curved run, not a straight run. Okay. And it's curved because you want to cut out him passing back to the keeper, and make him go wider. You know that? Oh, mate, today'd be good. There you go. And then we wander over. Now, in this situation, Luca, you need to be dropping with your player because you've just given them a really easy opportunity to get out. So instead of engaging the ball, your run needs to be this way so that you can put pressure on the pass to this bloke, okay? So that you can put pressure on this guy so that we've got this arrangement where you're there, okay? Because we've got Ollie here and he's marking up with this chap. And this guy here has Danny on him. So the only thing we're waiting on is for Nathan to trundle in here and shut down the ball through to there. Okay, so that's just a little adjustment there that we can work on. 35:16 was another example of the press. And this is just a finer point on what I've just been talking about. Okay, so what we need to do here, in terms of driving the press, and I think it's Nathan in the number 9, we've successfully put this guy, he's gone one way or the other, which is what we wanted. But what has to happen with your run, you'd have to be a little closer to him. I believe in this situation, he's not going to pass back. So your run kind of needs to be following. Remember, your run's just hurting him over to the sideline until he makes a mistake, a bad touch, force him onto his non-dominant foot. Then you can engage, and then everyone engages. Okay, so if that happens, then Luca comes in. Okay, and Luca, no luck with this mouse sometimes. But anyway, then Luca comes in and engages here. You're going to get Mal this comes, so everyone will engage. Instead, this guy is just given. Now, see the run that's being made here by the striker, in this case, Nathan, he's running that way. Okay, what we need is a run that you only actually need to be 2 or 3 meters closer to the ball carrier, but you just need to be close enough that he knows that one bad touch, one touch that's too heavy, and he could be in trouble. So it's a finer detail, but see you're drifting across. He's got a lot of time, and he marches at about 30 meters out, and now you actually give him something to think about. But by this time, he's actually advanced the ball from all the way back here, which is not posing a threat to us. So he's marched it from all the way back there, and now he's there. Now, the difference between those two positions is, in this position, even if he lumps it, he's probably getting it to around about here. But in this situation, if he lumps it and he gets it to there, our back line's set up on halfway. So if they get a good header and a nod through, they could turn that into an attacking opportunity. So that's why it's important. We really need them to be making that passing opportunity before then. And even if you are just hurting, we really don't want them to get too much further than here before they make that pass. So as you can see, he then hits it. Bang. Now, if that goes wrong, you've got this guy darting across. It just can create an opportunity for them to do something. Now, in this situation, we get to 6:21, and what I'm highlighting here, there we go. So now have a look. This is a different situation. It's gone to this guy. And in this situation, what Nathan does well is he curves his run the way we want to. So it takes the goalkeeper out of the equation, makes him kick. Because if you have a look ahead, we'll just let it roll a little bit. There you go. Now you see the little jink. So that little jink means he's not going to swap. So what I think Nathan has recognised is this guy's body language is now such that he can't go back to the goalkeeper, because to go back to the goalkeeper, he's got to stop, turn his body around and kick back. And Nathan's close enough to put pressure on that. Add to that the run, he's curved his run, okay? But you'll also notice you're closer to the ball. So that's making the defender make a decision. And you've squeezed, and there we go. So now they're trapped in the pocket now. This guy's got some problems. It'd probably be better if Mel was pushing across to cover the middle of the pitch. And ultimately, we end up winning the ball back. Well, sorry, we don't allow them to come through us. Unlucky not to win the ball back. So that's a good example. So just pointing out the difference between a good defensive curved run by the striker in the press and one that's not necessarily the ideal model of what we want. All right. So now we're just going to go through, to start with, we're going to be talking about defensive feedback. So if we go to 1134. So what I had highlighted here. Okay, so in this situation, what we need is this situation, your body position is not quite, you're just not quite in the right position. The striker's here, he's close enough to Mick and he's quite sharp. Now, if Mick, in terms of options Mick's got, if he passes in behind you, then you're going to have the issue that the striker's going to very quickly respond to that and be onto you, and then we've got a problem. If Mick passes into this space, then the issue is if you take a touch and you don't get the ideal touch and the striker can get the ball, then we're in a real problem. If Mick executes a really bad pass into here, they've got midfielders flowing through and our midfielders haven't caught up yet. So they've got these boys coming through. So essentially the easiest way in this situation would be for Zach to just work a little harder and achieve a position here such that you can achieve the ball, turn, access a pass. Then you can find Major, who's probably dropped into about this position. And then we're going to have, you can see on the radar, you can see Zach is somewhere down here. Once again, Zach, you're way too high, mate. We probably need you to be at least in line with where Lukey is. So that's just some feedback for you specifically, Zach. All right, so if we see how it unfolds, yeah. So once again, that's that really ugly passing option. That's come about because Mix effectively had pressure put on him. So Zach, you need to be dropping in more. I don't think that the longer ball over to Major would help because their midfield's driving through. Real question here, though, is where are our midfielders? Because the only midfielder within a ball's roar of all of this is Ollie. They then chip it through. Mick comes across, gets to it. Probably doesn't deal with it as well as what he would have liked. But this was within the first 10 minutes. They came at us pretty hard in the first 10 minutes. So I was actually quite proud of how we weathered them. But we really don't want to let them into that position now. In this situation, okay. Now this is talking about the positioning of our backs. Specifically, and this was you, Zach, at right back, you're here. Majors here. We can look at the sat map. So what it effectively means is you're marking no one. And Major, Zach, and Luke have each got a player on them. So where do you need to be? You probably need to be back here and then let Major be a free player or vice versa, but too advanced. As it turns out, we get away with it, but that was just positional play that was problematic and gave them opportunities early on. So we need to sort that out sort of earlier in the game. Now, in this instance, this is back past goalkeeper. Okay. So this, I think, this is now. This is not really on this ball, because what happens here is Luke passes over to Mick, puts a lot of pressure on Mick. The issue here is that these guys are too close to Mick. If Mick produces anything other than a perfect touch, so you've lobbed it back, it's a dog of a ball. Mick doesn't quite get his touch right. I mean, I suppose the only thing I wondered whether or not in that situation, Mick, rather than try to take the touch there, maybe as the ball's arriving, and you're the one who is in the better position to make the assessment, but maybe the solution is to come back, give yourself more time, and then take the touch, in which time Major could have panned over here, okay, and he could then look to receive a pass, because what we can also see is we can see the shadow of Zach, and then we could escape. So we then turn what ended up being an opportunity to lose a ball, do that, or it could even be that Major tells Mick to leave it and runs across to get it. The better option would be Mick dropping back, because Mick can use his hands. So I thought, yes, pass probably wasn't on Luke, but we could have also managed that situation better. I wouldn't mind trying to do some live scenarios at the back for things like back headers, that kind of back pass. But anyway, live and learn. So yeah, we're really lucky to get away with that. If that guy takes a touch, their finishing, honestly, their finishing was probably as bad as ours, really. Okay, now we'll go to the next play. This rolls straight through to what my next coaching point was. Now they were pressing pretty hard here. If you can have a look at where we are, we've got Zach out here. That's a good position. I like that. We've got Zach here. I can't see Luke, but I'm pretty sure he's about here. Ollie's dropped into here. Riley's dropped into here. But they're pushing high. They felt they were right on top of us. It's 12 minutes in. So the midfielders are probably not ideal. We've got these guys. So they're coming at us pretty hard. Luke's got someone on him. Now the decision gets made to go to Major. What I want to point out, though, is the space is on the right-hand side, on our right. Pass. Now, in this situation, Zach's right here. So what you need to do is you need to take the pass, okay? You need to take the touch, and you need to very quickly pass it to Zach. And then from there we can escape, because you can see that's where the space is. Heaps of space there. Now you take the touch and you dwell on it. And you dwell on it, and you dwell on it, and now you pass. Now the problem is, instead of now Zach having the opportunity to escape, he hasn't even received the ball yet. You're out of the picture because their striker's taken him out of the picture. The other option there is Riley. This guy's coming to close down. This guy's got Major covered. This guy's got Riley covered. So we've turned what could have been an easy escape if we moved the ball quickly, and now we've turned it into Zach being trapped on the sideline. There you go, boom. Now, and then we've got Will. Will comes up. Now Will grapples, wins the ball, gets shoved off it. Zach's then come up to try to fix that. Now we escape. We get out of it, which was good. But we can't be doing that at the back. We talked about dribbling sideways. We talked about dragging our feet at the back, taking lots of time and letting them get up and on us. Just not a good idea. Okay, so once again, what's this, 20? This will be 2026. So right back positional play. Okay, so in terms of not high enough in terms of the offside trap, aren't tracking back. Now you realise the danger's on and start to track back, but the horse is kind of bolted. This guy's gotcha. Something you can also do is, if we have the line straight, just physically stand between him and the goal. Now it comes through. Now you're recovering, tracking back, which is very good. Will's tracking back. And now we'll break with the ball. Okay, so we've got away with that, but we just need to pay closer attention on the outside. I kind of got the feeling you were just a fraction off the pace on Sunday. It wasn't your best day, Zach, but that's okay. We know you're better than that, and we can just work on supporting you and learning and growing now. So here we are. So the issue here, your man Francis has managed to get on the inside of you, which means he is in between you and the goal, which is not really where you want to be. So he's here, you're there. Major's in the middle. He's got problems because he's got to mark this guy. Ollie's got drawn up to defend there. Once again, it's good old-fashioned long ball stuff. That kid's used his body well. And then Major, you need to be tracking back harder. That cross is for you to cover because you've got to be aware that this guy's on the run through. So let's track it back a tiny bit. Boom. Okay, so Major watching the ball there. As soon as that ball goes through, now you are watching the ball very intently, but not everyone around. Now you're kind of trundling back. Now you need to be recognizing the threats here. Zach needs to be telling you the threats there because Zach's not going to get there. So what you need to be doing in this situation is executing a run in this fashion, because what you're wanting to do is be in a position to cut out any cross because they're flooding through on us there. Now you've started, now that you've slowed up there, you needed to be accelerating, if anything, because that was the gap that the centre back needs to cover. So 32-16. Now this is talking more of the same. That's 32-90. All right, well, I'm uncertain as to what that was meant to be. We'll now go to 65-20. It's a really good passage of play. We really built into this game. It was one of the features of the game. It's one of my favourite things about the game. Okay, so we come back here. Ball goes back to Mick. Mick draws the attention of the striker, executes a really good ball. And we're going to go back even further on that, actually. So they play forward. We win the ball. I think we go back. Find, I think, Major, is it? Comes over Luke. Oh, sorry, Major. Finds Zach. Finds Luke. And then we're off and exploiting all of the space. That's a really good leave. This is going to be starting to venture into attacking. Really good work by Nathan. Really good ball. And Max, I sometimes think you're too nice on a football pitch, Max, because in that situation, your job is to just come in and just clatter into the guy to win the ball. Yeah, a little bit forced there. Wasn't your best day, Zach, but that's all right. So this is a good example where, and I'm going to drag into things a tiny bit. We've got two players back. We've got Ollie and Zach. So in that situation, rather than try to take on two players, we can play an easy ball back and then make a run through, and then we can exploit space. So that's an option. That's an opportunity, I think, to play back, to play forward, because these guys are on the ball. They've got no pressure on them. And we eventually do that, which is good, and we won a free kick. But we could have done that a fraction earlier. But good control. Now where do I? 72. Yeah, okay. This is another example of, I know I keep harping on this, but I think it's important to illustrate the impact that it has, because we need to move it quickly at the back. Now, okay, so here's the trick. Picks up the ball. Okay, so Mick's got the ball safely in our keeping. Personally, I think we've possibly gone the wrong way anyway. You could have ran ahead of this guy and gone out this way, but that's fine. So now Major's on the ball. Now, Major's on the ball. Zach has heaps of space. So Zach currently has time and space, okay? And the attack is there. So a good pass, that's a good pass, okay? But we dribble, just wait. And what we effectively do then is we let them push across, and now all of a sudden, everybody's marked up, and you're about to have a headache because this guy is about to come and start applying pressure to the ball. Still dribbling, and the only option now is to go long. But they've managed to push across to this side of the pitch, so now we have to play through them. Okay, so it's ended up getting out there, but it's not really the ideal. It's not really the style of play we want. We need to move the ball, not give them a chance to execute their press any better. Now, this was a topic of some conversation with respect to whether it's the right thing to head back to the goalkeeper. I think it was. So this is in the second half. They're doing their lump it up they're trying to line up on halfway, lump it up and get a nod through. There we go. There it comes. Doesn't really win it. They set their second ball. Now, in this situation, here's the big issue. The big issue is a header back to Mick is not really ideal because he's not in his box. He can't pick it up, which means that he's going to have to chest it. He's got pressure coming through. And if we roll it through now, you decide you want to head it to Mick, which is problematic because there's actually no pressure on you at this point in time. You've got two guys out here. Zach, you could probably be closing this guy's rundown to prevent him applying pressure to the ball. Just get between him and the ball. And we're lucky. We're really lucky. Well done to Mick, but that's a bad option. What we're looking for in that situation is if Mick's in his box and Major can then head it back to him. But you've got to be quite confident in your technical ability to do that. We might well be able to find some time at training in which time we can have a look at that. Now, my last coaching point on defence. $81.32. Yeah, once again, more of the same. Ball comes in. Zaki wins it. Okay, so good. Nothing doing here. There's nothing but space over here. And we're dribbling sideways. So, yeah, what I think can happen in that situation, we have a look at it. So Luke leaves it for Zaki. Zaki passes it back there. You can take a touch forward if you're confident in your touch. In this situation, there's nothing whatsoever to stop you taking a little touch forward, because what you effectively do if you take that little touch forward is you take the striker out of the game. Okay? So you then take a touch forward, and then, especially if you're confident enough to take a touch forward in such a fashion that you take a touch forward and this striker becomes involved, because if this guy then has to respond to you by coming in, you can then create the pass, which is going to give Zaki some space because that's Zaki's man, or you can potentially pass here to Max, and then Max can link up with our right-hand side. But you've got to be comfortable in your technical ability to do that, which I think we've got to develop, because that's why in this situation we run sideways. And yes, we do get the ball to Francis. By the time it gets to Francis, though, they've managed to get a player over there. So I think we just need to be a little bit more decisive at the back, but we're learning. That concludes defence. Okay, so now we'll roll over to looking at attack. There's a lot more to talk about in attack. And I may well not get through all the coaching points. I may just publish some of them and just let you guys have a look at them. But the first item on the attacking front, this is an idea of playing back to go forward. That's good. That's really good. So in that situation, if we roll it back a fraction, what Nathan's done, he's fresh, he's on the ball, we run over, he pushes the defender off and he gets the ball. Now, as it advances, the other defender's going to come across. So he's got a 2-on-1. The options are he can try to turn inside. So he can attempt to turn and cut inside. He could even attempt to pass to Will in this situation, but he's got two defenders on him. This guy's, going to be able to affect himself physically, and if it's anything other than a perfect pass, anything sloppy there, they're mopping up. So what he correctly identifies is that this is the pass, because that then opens up a whole bunch of options. Riley's facing forward. It's a really good option. So this, when I say play back to play forward, this is what I mean. Pass it to Riley. Riley takes its heavy touch, unfortunately, which kind of breaks the movement down. But we still have possession. We're still facing forward, which means we can see opportunities. And that allows Ollie in this situation to see this pass, because he's got the ball at his feet, and he can see this pass over here to Matt. Boom. Really good ball. Even lifted it off the ground. Unfortunately, couldn't quite get the grapple on it the first time, but that's, and then good, so good use of the width after we follow up. Next, and this is, at this point, it's probably it might feel as I'm picking on you a tiny bit, Nathan, but I'm not. But you are kind of the cornerstone of our attack. So in this situation, what you've done, because you have really good feet, so you're standing in there waiting for the ball, get the ball, nice little twist, so nice little pirouette, touch. Now you've got the ball, and now what you need to do, you've got time, you've got space. In this situation, what I'd like from you is a little more composure. Get yourself centered, get square onto the ball, have a look at what the options are, realize you've got more time than you think to get it across. As it turns out, it's almost a goal. But I just think you have a fraction more time than what you think. So you don't need to be rushing things, because you've got really good feet, you create space, you get the ball out from your feet to shoot well. But if you give yourself a fraction more space and or time, now this situation is another good example. So this is playing back to go forward. So you've got the ball. Now Nathan's winning the ball, you've got the defender on your back, Zach's here, so clearly the attacking options, a pass I would like to see stabilise. You can play Will, you can play Zach, because either of those can run through onto the ball and then dribble. In this example in particular, if Will can get the ball, then he can try to find a pass that's going to get Mel into the game. Excellent. Really, really good. Pass to Will, finds Will, and then we're away. Okay. An excellent ball here would be to find Mal. Unfortunately, didn't quite get the touch he wanted, had some defensive attention, and we couldn't get there. Really, really good, Nath. It's exactly what we're wanting up front. Bring other players into the game, and that then frees you up, because then you can go and get into a better position to score. You can also drag their defenders out of position. So this is a great break. We've executed a really good break. The point that I'm making in here is we can respect the possession more. Now, Mal, you don't need to be making that pass. Do you know what I mean? We can respect possession. It's just a bit rushed. You're here, Nathan's here, Max is there. They've got quite a few defenders, and it might well be that if it was a lob cross into a roundabout here, that's a bit different, or even the back post, because we've got runners at the back post. But a ball along the ground into the mixer, probably not the best option, and that actually just goes out for a goal kick, or might have even been deflected by the defender. We can check that run, okay? If we're going to make full use of your considerable ability this season, Mal, We just need you to play in with the team a fraction more. So what's going on here? This might have actually 14. Yeah, okay. So this is 1404 is what I was after. I remember this. So what this is pointing out is, in this situation, the right back, and that's you, Zach. And Zach, you have a really good header. Your run on this corner, the far post run, is your run. Okay, so this section here of the goal is for you to run into and score. Your defender's doing 8/10 of bugger all there. He's not marking anyone. I'm not sure what the point is. He would be better off to be standing on the far post. Comes over, and if you're making that run to the far post, it's a tap in. As it is, it's a bit of an insipid shot, which is not really what we're after. Better contact. You could have side-footed that, I would have thought. But anyway, these are things to live and learn from. 1455 section. Okay, so that's 1450. So 1455. Okay, so this is where Mick almost, Jesus, give us a heart attack. Okay, lumping it up. Now, the talking point here is the importance of giving the ball to the feet. Now, this is not to criticise the pass specifically, but in this situation, we've got Mal, and he's got this big defender on top of him. So the coaching point here is, if we give the ball to their defenders, clean ball to their feet, it makes it a lot easier for them. Because in this situation, what ends up happening is the big defender just falls all over him, and then they win possession back. So that was the key point there. Just deliver the ball to the feet of the wingers. We'll move on to 1623. So this is an example of, could we have used Max in this situation? So Nathan's got the ball. He's managed to turn. Now, I love the intent of the pass. Execution wasn't really ideal. I think it ended up being too close to the goalkeeper. My question is, though, would a better pass been to here? Okay, where Max can run onto that ball, receive it here, and then Max can execute the pass to play Mal in. Because as soon as Max gets the ball, all of a sudden the keeper's frozen in his spot, and then we end up with Mal creating a shot to score in the net. So let's see how it unfolds. Yeah, so I think you probably just selected the wrong club there, Nate, but that's okay. The point is, we're creating opportunities, but it's something to think about. The easier ball is just to Max, and then Max can either play through and score, or he can play through, draw the keeper, and then square it to Mal for a tap in. Anyway, these are things to think about moving forward as we build combinations. Now, another break. All right. Yeah, we talked about this. Yeah, this was, you know what? I actually don't have any issue with you taking the shot from there if we're talking about it from the perspective of being on halfway, chipping the keeper. The problem is, you're not taking a full-blooded shot with your body opened up. You're trying to just slice it off the side of your foot, and it doesn't really come off at all, which is a shame, because that was a clear-cut opportunity. So once again, and that's the second side foot, let's just think about the club we're using for the shot, okay? Because, there are a lot of goals in this front five. We just need to find the right way to access them. And, you're really important in this, Nathan, because you really are the centerpiece up front there. Hang on. No, it's just fine. Okay, so this is just an example, I thought, of just being way too direct. Love the intent there, Will, but a little bit too direct. Now, this here, 23, 21, I thought this was a really good example of going back to go forward. Okay, so Will's on the ball. Now, Will has 3 defenders around him. Max is showing for the ball. So there's really not a whole lot going on. I mean, if he could squirrel his body really quickly, you could go through there. Bang, goes back to Max. Max advances the ball. Oh, no, sorry, who was that? Now, go back to go forward and then stay alive there. So this kind of breaks down a tiny bit in that we've just done that. Better option, I would have thought, in that situation where Will has, so we're here, we move it wider to Mal. Probably dwelled on it a little bit long because really the run that we want from you there, Mal, is to very quickly pass the ball. And then what I'd prefer you to be doing would be to give us width to receive. Because if you run out that way to give us width to receive, and you can do so because you're not going to be offside, you're straight away, you're going to drag your defender with you, and make these defenders make choices. In terms of, I can't actually tell who that is, I'm sorry. But options there, we can go to Griggsy, and then Griggsy can try to find a pass to the inside, or can pass back. We could also pass wider to Mal. As it turns out, just dwell on it too long. Like, you just move it faster and then adopt another attacking position. Still on it. So just pass it a couple of 3 or 4 steps earlier, and then go out and create the width and drag your defender with you. What you've effectively done is just wasted a fair bit of time, and then allowed the situation where their defenders on, I'm not sure it was, maybe Danny, anyway, onto our attacker, who's then bombed the ball. And that's simply because you've dwelled on the ball too long. You needed to pass it crisply and then move into space. Probably sounds like harsh criticism, but, mate, it's just coming from the position of trying to develop a dynamic which is going to see you score goals and then see our team profit. Okay, 27:08. Really good use of the ball here. Good example of Nate. So Nathan's left the ball, okay, and allowed it to go forward. And I think we then play Mal in, and it was Hayden that we were trying to play in. I'll actually have another look at that. I don't know if he's offside. Yeah, I don't see. The referee's already got the whistle in his mouth. But surely this boy's keeping everybody on side. Surely he's keeping him on side. He's probably keeping him on side. Even this guy looks like he's keeping him on side. Anyway, that's just one of those unlucky ones. We will play. Look, honestly, unfortunately, we're going to play more often than not without linesmen, and that's not going to be an uncommon occurrence, which is frustrating. But it is what it is, hey? Because the reality is, boys, the worst game of football with referees is still a hell of a lot better than the worst game of football without referees. So here we are breaking. What are we? We are 29:04. Yeah, great drive. It's a really good drive by Luke. Got the ball, got the win. Now, at this point in time, just think pass selection. Do you know what I mean? Really good pass. Nathan's got it. Oh, drifts it. Oh, breaks down. Danny gets it tangled up in his feet. So that's really good. Yeah, look, obviously Luke offers us a lot in attack. $31 of 54. All right, it's just a little bit before where I wanted to be. 31, 54. Now we miss it. Now we've got one to go, 31.47. Okay. Okay, now this situation, they're all over you, mate. So what I think the easier option is just to roll it back. You've got Ollie there. Like Ollie, or is it Danny, or is it Francis is literally standing there. That's the easy option to retain the ball. There's not really anything on. in there. So that's the easier pass. Instead of that, that's a really low percentage play. So just roll it back, let Francis get the ball, and then we can distribute and build, okay, or exploit passes. But we make their defenders make more decisions. So that's just a little bit rushed. You've got a much better passing repertoire than that. So use it, young man, use it. So this is another example, 34-18. Just take your time and find the right pass. Like in this situation, we don't just need to lump it, okay? And we will get better, and we'll get better as we get more confident. But an easy ball there is just play the easy ball. You know what I mean? I can't tell who it is. It might be Luke Payne. I'm not sure. But just play the easy ball and release him, as opposed to we've just like literally drilled it straight into Luke Payne. And I'm not sure who the pass was intended for, even if it did go through. See, there we go. That's much better, boys. We're just playing through good little passes. We got the ball. Now, build. You've got options, okay? It might be Mal. But look, we've got easy options. We got Luke. We've got the ball over to the midfielder here. So we've got options. We don't need to, see, that's taking too much time on the ball. You've allowed the defenders to squeeze, and then they've nullified the threat. Got to move the ball faster, Mal. And Danny almost creates a screamer, which would have been very nice. It's good connection. I mean, I wondered whether or not you had time to take a touch and pick your spot, but okay. So in this situation, 36, 30. Yeah, so what we're wanting to do here is just find the space. Yeah, I know what this one was. So this one is we come out, done really well. Yep, it's a really good shimmy there by Ollie. Sort of in and out of those two guys. That's actually quite impressive. Finds that. Now, in this situation, and you can actually hear it in the audio, take a touch. Francis is screaming for the ball because what he wants to do is make a run and receive the ball somewhere in the space behind the defender. So in this situation, just roll your body and play the ball into all of this space and then re-engage. Instead, we just kicked it straight into the defender. That's all good. We'll learn. I got the impression you were a tiny bit rusty at that point in time. And that's fine. We got Max in there at centre back. We didn't have Isaac this week. So that we needed to find another option to help out at the back when we got some tired legs, and Max went the back there, and we got some very, very solid passing out the back there, which is a really important part of our game. Okay. Now, 16:02. Won the ball, great job. Now, the thing I thought in this situation was either of two things. Either look for the far post runner. Okay, so look for this ball over here somewhere, or cut it back, bang, into the path of a Nathan. As it turns out, we didn't do either of those, and it's been dealt with. So these are, look, the thing is, and the reason I harp on this is it's going to be a competitive season. I think this is going to be a really competitive league, but we definitely have the minerals to make it to take. Honestly, I think we've got. There's no reason why we can't at this point in time win this comp. I don't think there's anyone in here in this comp that's going to pants us, and we've got a good team and a good squad competition across the pitch. So we need to be making more of these chances, because against good teams, we will get less of them, which means we need to convert them. Now we move on to 63:04. Did a really good job of winning the ball. That's just, So this was... So we'll play it back. And that was the great shame of this was, because there's Luke. Fantastic job to make the run, to cut this guy out. And then you get to this point now. There's options, but I'm not convinced this is the best option. You've got Mel, who's executing a run out over here. You're more than good enough to get the ball out there. You're also more than good enough to pass it to any number of different players, but Mel's wanting to execute this run over into space. I don't know that we needed to be nailing that pass, which the keeper kind of deals with really easily. So shooting selections are. I know you get frustrated when you're at the back and you just want to get forward and go. But a big part of that is executing the right option. Now, this is much better build up. Okay, so we get over there. Mal's got the ball. That's a really good pass. There's a couple of these opportunities. It's a really good ball, Mal. And notice the difference. You've got the ball, you've got your eyes up, you've seen the pass, and you've done it quickly. You are a much, much better player when you move the ball quickly and then reposition. You're a fucking nightmare for the opposition when you do that. When you dwell on the ball and sort of dribble nowhere, it's exactly what the opposition wants. A, because it's easy for defenders to control. B, it gives them lots of time to get back and get set. Max, you just need to pull the trigger there, son. You just need to put your left foot through it, or maybe roll it back for Mal. I don't know. I know it's on your non-preferred foot, but you just need to hit that because it just sort of fizzles out. Just shoot, because even if you shoot and it's not a strong shot, it's very unlikely that the goalkeeper is going to be able to control it. And then on that basis, we're every chance of getting some crumbs, because if the keeper can't control it, it ricochets off him. Who knows where it's going to go? And then it might well be that it falls in our favour. So this is a really, really. So now Nathan's got the chance. As with any striker, when you get the chance to turn and face, you create a world of opportunities here, Nathan. And in this situation, you've taken your time. You're strong on the ball. You're a strong physical presence on the ball. The defender's trying to come in to do something. It's a great ball. Really unlucky that the defenders just managed to stick a foot out and get enough of it, because otherwise Mel, and I think it might be Danny, are all over that. But really good. Get the ball, turn, face. And that's the advantage of playing back for you, Nathan. If you play back and then reposition and then get the ball without pressure, it creates the opportunity for you to turn and face the goal. And that creates a lot more opportunities for you. Okay, so this is. So my question here is, was there a chance to play back? So we're wrestling for the ball. We've got two players back. And I know it's difficult, but difficult because you're there and you're wrestling and you're grappling. But if you can steady, we've got two options to play the ball back there. And I realise we're in the 57th minute on hot days. Fatigue starting to become a factor. Now, 76-36. The feedback here is you must attack crosses. So fantastic. Really good, Mel. Really good. Now, and you've moved it. So you move it. You're really much, much better player when you move the ball. Now, must attack this cross. Must attack the cross. Must drive hard to split those defenders and get into position. It's a good, great cross by Riley. Obviously, you can't ask a lot more of the cross. The onus is on the attackers in that situation to drive forward and attack that cross. I apologise in advance, boys. This is going to be a bit longer, but honestly, I'd rather do videos that are too long. Now, in this situation, okay, so what we need, someone needs to be busting a pupper valve to make the far post run. Okay? Somebody from somewhere needs to be making this run into that space. There's even the argument in this situation that you start running diagonally. But what happens is, so Will, in this situation, once this unfolds, that's your run sliding over here. Realistically, though, we really need to have a runner coming in at that far post. This is the 59th minute, just before the drinks break. People are getting tired. And even then, I think that's Mal, yeah. Oh, it's on your non-preferred foot, but gee whiz, we created so many chances in this game. Just could not put them away. 85-31. So this is a really good square ball. Well, okay, so you're on the ball now. You got some time on the ball. Bang! That's a really, really good ball, Mel. Notice you've played it early, you've freed your feet, you've got it in there, and like this, honestly, we have to score off this. Someone needs to get on the end of it. We've got Nathan coming through unopposed, and we've got, I can't see who it is because they're obscured. Need to be scoring there. Need to put your unlucky Riley. Anyway, so yeah, we created a bunch of opportunities like that. Keep creating those square balls, those crosses, Mel and Luke when you're there, or William on the other side, or Nathan when you're in there. Keep creating those balls because we will get runners onto them. It's just going to take a little bit longer as everyone figures it out, but somebody needs to be making those runs to get on the end of those because they're match. We get that, and then all of a sudden we put these guys to bed at 68 minutes, 22 in. I've already highlighted 2 of them. Now, this is an example. What we're talking about here is playing back to play forward. Okay, so this situation, Mel, this is an example of you. I'm not sure why, but Zach is literally standing there. Roll the ball back to Zach. So if you can roll the ball back to Zach, and you're technically good enough to do that, roll the ball back to Zach. Okay, and then you execute a little run up here, well, here or wherever you want to run to. And what Zach's going to be able to do, because he's good enough to just move the ball laterally a bit and give it straight back to you. It's basically just a 1-2, mate. So, but what you've got done is you've got caught up in the grapple and you're too busy wrestling. Easy ball back to Zach. Zach can then play you through. You're a technical winger. You're a light winger. Yes, you can scrap for the ball, but you're infinitely more effective, okay, when you're free to run and move about. So that's what we need to create. Yeah, so this, I don't know whether, I don't know. This next bit of feedback's the same thing. It's probably going to sound as I'm picking on you, Mel. But so this is an example of, we've just seen a whole bunch of examples of Mel at his best. Now, in this situation, I believe I'd put Luke Williams on at left wing and I'd move you into more of a cam attacking midfield position. I think you were behind Danny because I'd taken Nathan off. Now, in this situation, there's a whole bunch of options. You run forward now, you've got the contacts, and once you've got a defender on you, that makes it much, much harder. You break the contact well, but you got to move the ball. Like, that's really, really not helpful. So now we've got Luke, but Luke's got not much to deal with. Even so, we still almost score. Do you know what I mean? That's almost gone in off the keeper's noggin. How that hasn't scored is beyond me. But anyway, now, once again, it's 74-35. I don't know whether you were starting to get a little bit tired and that was what was making you pass less and dribble more. Or maybe it was that, we were getting later in the game and you were wanting to take the responsibility onto yourself, but move the ball, take advantage of that technical ability that you have, and move the ball. That goes for everybody. We've just highlighted Male in this instance. Because honestly, when we get to these stages of the game, you're someone who can bust the game wide open. We will build those formations, and I'm sure it will get easier as everybody gets to know each other up front. Final feedbacks. We've got a little bit of work to do positionally at the back. Probably need to be a little bit more intense at the start of games. And then at the back, and then in the front, it's just a matter of building those combinations, getting on the end of those crosses and cutback balls, and being prepared to play back and play forward, using each other with little passes, because it really will cut teams to pieces. Thanks for your attention, boys. I will see you this afternoon at training, and otherwise, thank you for your attention.